Hello, guys. Well, welcome to the call. We have with us today Suzanne, who's part of the team at Mobilise and a carer in Yateley in Hampshire.
That's right.
We have Warren, who is a psychologist and lecturer at the University of Liverpool, and you're up in Liverpool today.
I am, yeah.
We have Jackie, who is in Rutland. She's a carer and is founder of the Out of Hours Club, a group for 18 plus with additional needs to get some outdoors time as well. So welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Great to see everybody, and I'm really glad that we got the memo about wearing red or pink today. That seems to have worked very well. And of course, we're all sitting in glorious self-isolation in various parts of the country today through what is a really extraordinary time, not just for our country and for the world, but specifically for carers. And what we'd like to do on this call is just have a bit of a chat around some of the themes that have come through from the conversations that we've been having through Mobilise, and link them into some of the research that you've been doing, Warren, and hear a little bit, Jackie, about your experience as a little bit of a case study, if you don't mind. Suzanne, do you want to just share a few of the themes that we've been having in the conversations with Mobilise over the past week?
Well, I think that the last 2 weeks really have been a really difficult time for carers. They've been challenging. There's a real sense of that they're not in control of what's going on at the moment. They've got big questions that there aren't answers to. And they're learning day by day, though, and somehow getting through. So many different situations. There's carers that are not living with the person they're caring for. So there's that big dilemma of, do I keep visiting them? Do I move in with them? Do I leave them to it? And if they've got paid carers that are coming in either to their home or their loved one's home, do they continue with that? Is that too risky? And how do they manage that? What will they do if their carers get ill? The people they really depend on. So there's lots of unknowns there. The big question carers are asking themselves is, what if I get it? What if I go down with coronavirus? Who's gonna look after my loved one? None of them have asked who's gonna look after me, bless them. They're all concerned about who's gonna look after their loved one. And whereas before, there's some really great carers out there that have been doing this for a long time. They've got a plan B, they've got that in place, but their plan B people are also and they're also concerned about will the social care system kick in and step in if we need to rely on that as well, or whether that's carers that are coming funded by social services or self-funded, are they even going to be available if I need it? And also people are trying to carry on living their own lives. They've got work and they're having discussions with employers about, well, actually the person I'm looking after is vulnerable, and me being in and out of the house and into work is not good. And although most people are working from home, there are a lot of carers that are key workers themselves. They're working in retail, or they're working in schools, they're working in hospitals, or they are carers themselves. They're part of the social care system themselves as well. So there's all of that going on, and it's kind of, how do I keep my family safe and my loved ones safe and the people I'm caring for safe? How do I reduce the risks as much as possible to keep everyone safe? And if they are in isolation, how are we getting our shopping, how are we getting prescriptions, and all things like physiotherapy appointments and speech therapy, hospital appointments. All those things are, unless they're really, really vital, are not happening. So lots of carers in different situations, and lots of people quite new to caring. Maybe they've been looking out for mum and dad, but now the situation seems to be very different and they're needing to self-isolate. Maybe mum was the carer looking after dad, and they're now having to kind of step in and see what they can do from a distance, actually, what they can do, whether it's getting online support, getting their shopping delivered, working out what's happening with the council. So people are all going through something new and different that wasn't the challenge that they had before, along with the existing challenges they already had. So it's a tough time for carers out there, but they're a resilient bunch.
Absolutely. And Suzanne, I know that a lot of people have been really grateful for the opportunity to chat to you one-on-one over the last couple of weeks and just have a bit of a listening ear and the reassurance that you can provide. So thanks for doing that. And I think there's a real, what you described there is that in addition to the existing challenges, there's now a whole load of stuff that we've almost got to figure out for ourselves. So no matter how much government advice there is, actually a lot of these really complex and difficult and subtle challenges are something that we've got to figure out within the family. Warren, how does this relate to some of the research that you've been doing, particularly with dementia carers over the last few years?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been working closely with carers for the best part of 10 years in my capacity as a psychologist conducting research. And certainly a lot of the themes coming out of the conversations that you're having with carers at the moment are things that have been coming out, you know, over the years. It's just that it's kind of more acute. So carers have been made acutely aware of the fact that things are out of their control, unpredictable, uncertain, which is a problem. We know that's a problem because I think when we're under stress, I think all of us like to harness control so things feel more manageable. But at the moment, there's so much that's out of carers' hands. On top of everything else that carers are going through, it's really taking its toll. And that's something that the carers are telling us themselves. I mean, there's a whole kind of body of research looking at control. I think that's one of the key themes to come out, isn't it? And when we're all out of control at the moment, we know that feeling out of control has negative outcomes in terms of our health and well-being. And I think what COVID-19 has done is it's kind of brought to the forefront, certainly from the research perspective, there's two types of control. So there's our internal locus of control, which is the feeling that we can manage and we're in control of our life. And then there's an external locus of control, which is the fact that things happen to us. And I think what COVID-19 has done is it's increased the kind of external locus of control so that we don't feel like we're able to manage as much as we could before. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why carers are feeling anxious at the moment and feeling quite a great deal of stress.
And Warren, are there particular things that you've seen carers can be doing that help deal with that feeling of stress when there's a sensation of losing control?
Yeah, so I think, again, looking at the conversations that carers are having with Mobilise, I think carers are, again, with the resources available to them, really trying to sort of pursue their own interests, their own hobbies, their own things that they might have done before, trying to maintain that continuity forward with their loved ones, and often, you know, finding the time as well for themselves wherever possible. It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think a lot of carers feel as though a lot of the national government advice hasn't perhaps been as clear as it could have been, and some of the advice might not be as easy to implement as it could be. But I think despite that, I think carers are demonstrating a great deal of resilience. We know that resilience in the face of adversity is massively important now more than ever, really.
And you use the word resilience there. What does that mean in sort of layperson speak? How would we recognise that?
Yeah, so resilience is defined as it's the process of adapting to, managing, and negotiating with significant sources of stress. So obviously we all encounter stress in our daily lives. I think at the moment there's this kind of, you know, the elephant in the room, the pandemic, the global pandemic. And I think resilience really is our stress response. So it's the resources that we draw on within ourselves, but also in our environment to manage that and combat that. And that's multifaceted. So people are drawing on positivity and humour wherever possible. They're drawing on a massive source of support from the conversations that we've been having is the online community. So people in the same boat, people with shared experiences, learning and sharing. But also the way that people are engaging with wider services, and like as we'll see with Jackie as well, engaging with the community through their own work as well. So it's essentially the resources that we draw on, the same way that you put fuel in your car, it's fueling carers on so that they can combat the stress at the moment. But again, there's a capacity to that, and I think it's what we would refer to as an ecological system. It's not just, the onus isn't just on the individual, it's on communities and society at large as well to help with that.
Yeah. and there's been some really exciting outpourings of offers of help and assistance. And sometimes it's not very easy to accept those offers of help because of the specifics of this situation. But I think that gesture is really important, and making sure that carers don't feel like they're on their own going through this is really important. And Warren, you mentioned Jackie there. Jackie, can you tell it? Well, does what Warren describes there chime with your experience? How are you coping?
Most of it does, and I am now coping, shall I say. I'm at the other end of the scale. But yes, the fear that you have as a carer of what is going to happen if something happens to me, who's going to look after my son and everything else. Well, that was a reality for me. And it frightened the hell out of me. It frightened the hell out of my oldest son. I woke up hearing him crying in the middle of the night because I developed a virus not similar to COVID-19. And it knocked me off my feet for near enough 2 weeks. I'm beginning to recover. I still spend a lot of time sleeping. And it was just that fear of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do the other? He's got to go to work. Ashley's got to go to work. How am I going to cope with, how am I going to get up out of bed? And lucky enough for Ashley, he was able to get the time off work. I mean, he's deliberately disappeared today, and I'm presuming he's disappeared because he doesn't want to be part of this conversation. But, he's managed to get 2 weeks off work so that he could help me. And, it was a matter of, I'd literally gone from being, I'm okay, to a lump of jelly.
And Jackie, were your community of neighbours and friends an important part of how you were able to respond to that?
They were, once they realised. Nobody knew. And because you're all sort of in isolation, nobody knew exactly what was going on. But I had two very, very dear friends who kept in touch on a daily basis. And when they realised they couldn't get hold of me, they rang Ashley. And via this one particular person ringing Ashley, she then sent an email to the GP surgery, which resulted in I think it was a practice manager, ringing Ashley the same night. I was not aware of all this. And that was 11 o'clock at night, he rang Ashley. I received a call the following morning from the surgery, having been to the surgery and, had triage over the phone and, the norm stuff. But I had a phone call about 9:30 the following morning, basically saying that, asking me how I am, what am I doing, how do I feel? And basically, I've just got to get through this horrible period of time of being disabled, because that's basically what I was. I was unable to do anything for myself. I became double incontinent, and that was the worst thing for me, because it's, you're like, oh my gosh, look at the state of the place, and who's going to clean it up? And poor Ashley, he did his best, and like most blokes, you all do your best. It's never going to be the same way that we want it to be.
And actually, Jackie, what you're describing there plays in a bit to what Warren observed, which is that there's a bit of an ecology that goes on. So in the household, you're engaging with each other, but actually you've got your friend there, you've got the GP, you've got social service as well, all kind of quite closely involved in what's going on.
Yeah, because also part of that email that Susie sent, The practice manager also then sent it on to social services. And I then had a phone call from social services saying, look, you need help. What can we do? And they have put in for me to have a cleaner to get on top of what I call the of the illness. Because there's nowhere I can get my hands on knees and scrub the carpet and things like that. Yeah. And they've put that support in. Admittedly for 4 weeks, but it is support. But had Susie not made that email, had not made that call, I dread to think where I'd still be.
And I think we're picking up that there's a really thank you, by the way, Jackie, for sharing that, because you've obviously been through a really tough time, and well done for getting through, and well done to Ashley as well for making it work. There's something really important about making sure that we're checking in with that network on a daily basis. And actually, Suzanne, you've explained to me that one of the things that's sometimes quite hard is thinking of things that you need help with. So actually being quite honest about the things that you're struggling with and sharing that with other people, that might actually enable them to make suggestions about ways that they can help.
Yeah, now is not the time for kind of pride and a good show of coping. And I think, like Ashley, people that may have been on the perimeter of caring for somebody, I'm sure Ashley's been helping support your younger son, but he's had to step in suddenly to care for mum and his brother and all of that system, whilst juggling what's happening with work. You have to tell your employers what's happening and how bad it is for them to understand your situation, not try and be brave and struggle on and to reach out for support. And Jackie, I'm so glad you've got some support now, because now is a really critical time, isn't it? After you've been poorly, it would be easy to try and jump back into full-on life and try and get back to normal, and that would be very stressful and would probably be detrimental to your health. So I'm really glad that there's some follow-up support to sort of ease you back into life a little bit. And we're so grateful that you joined us today. I know you like to be doing things and contributing to the community, and that's more of who you are normally. You're the one that's setting things up and keeping people in touch and arranging that support. So and it's really heartening to hear that things do kick in, but it needs friends, NHS, social services, the whole community, the whole kind of ecology of it, to work together. So great to hear. And I've heard good news this week as well. We had a chap who's caring for his mum who had coronavirus, went into hospital. She was an elderly lady with other complicated health conditions too, but she survived and came home. So sometimes hearing some of those good stories as well, rather than worrying about, is everything going to be disastrous? It gives us a little bit of hope, doesn't it? I think that helps with the feeling of control. So thanks, Jackie, for sharing. Really appreciate seeing
Thank you. Well, thanks to all of you. And just to wrap up, perhaps if I could come around and ask you for the one thing that you would recommend carers really focus on in the next week. One thing, tip or a trick or practical advice that carers can be doing to help them keep going. Suzanne, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, routine. Having a little bit of structure, not a regimented routine, but a little bit of structure to the day, particularly if kind of all the normal things that you'd go out that would keep not just your loved one, but you kind of okay and happy and healthy. So I think a little bit of routine, and make sure that routine's got something fun in it and something that's just for you as well. So I think carers, we need to take care of ourselves.
Smashing. Warren, how about you?
I would come back to what you said about, I think carers can be fiercely independent and take great pride in the role that they have. But again, at the moment, I think it's time to sort of not just accept the support on offer, but engage with it. And if that, everything from if a neighbour offers to help you out with a pint of milk, right through to the online community of carers as well, and keeping in touch with those people. I just think accept support that's on offer, add that to your toolkit, and I think that's the only way that we can get through this.
Absolutely. Jackie, how about you? What's your top tip for keeping going over the next few weeks?
keep connected. I hadn't realised how disconnected I'd become. I'm a very people person, and Suzanne will say that for me. You know, I'm online, I read anything. If I think it's interesting, I put it in the newsletter and I send out to other carers. And, you know, and I just feel that the last 2 weeks of my life has just disappeared. And if it wasn't for others making sure that I was connected, I wouldn't be here now. And I feel it's so important that you keep connected. And because I kept those connections going over periods of weeks, months prior, the moment I dropped off the scene, people realised, and they were then able to say, hold on a minute, I've not heard from Jackie for a while, and start that ball rolling. So it's really important to, yes, it's great to stand on your own, and it's great to think, I can do this. But having someone at the other end of the phone once a week, if needs be, is the lifeline. Because the moment that phone call is not made, they know something is wrong.
Yeah, and that plays into routine as well, doesn't it?
It really does, yes.
Things. Thank you so much. The one I would throw in is that Mobilise has a daily e-support package that will come through on your email. You can sign up on our website, which is mobiliseonline.co.uk, and carers from across the country are finding that a really helpful way of keeping looped in, getting the information and the advice that they need, but also connecting with others in the same boat across the country. Suzanne, Warren, Jackie, thanks so much for joining this call. It'll be really helpful, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon. Stay safe, won't you?
Thank you, you too.
Brilliant.
Okay. Good, thank you so much.